Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series in the Player's Handbook, and we're wrapping up our current series on the Eldritch Knight. Eldritch Knights are fighters that have tapped into the power arcane with the wizard spell list. They are gishes, combatants that use magic to empower themselves. And today we are finishing up with their 4th level spells. This is at the very end of the game. These guys are what we call 1/3 casters, meaning that they start with their spells at level 3, and they don't get anything higher than 4th level magic, and they don't get that until they are level 19. So it's actually very likely that most Eldritch Knights will never reach this level of power. But if you are playing in a campaign that goes all the way to the end, level 19 and 20, then these spells will be your capstone features, the things that empower you the most. I have prepared a top 5 list from the Wizard spell list in order to specifically address the powers of the Eldritch Knight. I've got 2 recommended for combat, 2 recommended for utility, as well as an honorable mention. Before we get into the details, though, I'd like to let you know, Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. You get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know you're a supporter. You get early access to my videos a day earlier than everyone else. And you get VIP access in my community Discord, where I'm discussing a lot of homebrew content that I've been making recently. If any of that sounds interesting to you, you can click the join button just down there next to the subscribe button. And if it doesn't interest you, that's fine as well. The Discord's free for anyone to join in and talk about D&D in the general chat rooms. And just being here at all, watching the video, liking, subscribing to the channel, these are all great ways to support me. So thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. Let's start with the number 2 utility choice for the fighter, for the Eldritch Knight, and that is Arcane Eye. Arcane Eye is a fantastic wizard spell. In the early stages of the game, the wizard can use it to scout out dungeons and look and do all sorts of stuff that they can't normally do. And here at level 19, Eldritch Knights finally get access to it. It creates an intangible little eye that floats around. It's got dark vision out to 30 feet. It lasts for an hour with your concentration, and you can just send it off, and you can see through its senses. This allows you to see in 2 places at once, because you can still see through your own senses, local to your body, and where the eye is. This means that you can do things like look around corners. You can even look through heavy obscurement. If it's in front of you and you send your eye to the side of it, you could fire arrows or even spells through heavy obscurement because you can see what's on the other side. All together, Arcane Eye is an amazing utility spell in and out of combat. Its primary use is to scout dungeons and look for traps and enemies and other things like that so that you have an idea of where you're going. Of course, there's no guarantee that at this level of play that creatures aren't going to have true sight to spot your Arcane Eye, but unless they know Dispel Magic, they can't hurt it anyway. So it's good for utility, not the most amazing thing at these high levels of play, but still very handy. I give it the number 2 spot. As far as the number 2 spot on the combat side goes, though, that one goes to Wall of Fire. Wall of Fire is a spell that is so much fun because it allows you to just carve the battlefield up. You cast Wall of Fire, and it creates a big wall of fire. It's a very appropriately named spell. You designate one side of the wall to be safe and one side of the wall to be dangerous. By doing this, you can split the battlefield between you and your enemies, and they have to run at you. And when they approach the wall, getting within 10 feet of it, they just automatically take damage. There is a saving throw involved. If you make the wall appear on a creature, they can make a dex save to dive out of the way. But if they approach the wall after it's been cast, and it lasts for 10 minutes with your concentration, if they approach the wall after it's been cast, they just take the damage, 5d8 fire damage, which isn't bad. Even at this high levels of play, that's just automatic damage that you're laying out. And yes, lots of creatures are just going to walk straight through it and not worry about it, but that is a ton of damage you put out for a 4th level spell slot, and with no saving throw to boot. Unless they're immune to fire, this is a fantastic one. And if you are fighting things like minions and such, this could easily wipe out a wave of them as they try to rush you. So I'm giving it the number 2 spot for combat for the Eldritch Knight. Before we get to the number ones, let's talk about my honorable mention. It's Polymorph. Now that might seem a little sacrilegious, because it turns out Polymorph is an incredible spell, transforming creatures into beasts that are equal to or less than their CR to level comparison. However, something about Polymorph is that beast forms, while they are very strong when you get Polymorph at level 7 as a full caster, you're level 19 now. This means that when you do transform into that giant ape with 100 and some hit points, temporary hit points on your side, that's all well and good, but one or two solid hits from a CR 19 enemy is probably going to knock you right out of your form. Using it for utility is still solid. Sneaking around as small animals, having special vision or special ways of transportation like swimming or flying. These are all great uses for Polymorph. That's why it gets my honorable mention. Because as a utility spell, it's virtually unparalleled. Even at this high levels of play, when the full casters have 9th level spells, just being able to cast Polymorph is gonna be helpful. And in combat, in an emergency situation when an ally's about to go down, and you're like, well, here, have like 100 and some temp HP. I mean, a 7th level spell of Power Word Fortify can do that, but this transforms them into a beast in the process, giving them maybe a harder punch, especially if they're a spellcaster. As a fighter, you're probably going to do more damage in your fighter form than you would as a T-Rex, but still, it's a good spell to have for anybody who's got these level of magic, and I'd recommend it as my honorable mention. So level 1, or rather my top spells for level 4 spells. Utility, it's Dimension Door. Dimension Door is a teleportation spell, allowing you to teleport 500 feet in any direction. You can go to a place you can see, you can go to a place you can think of and picture in your head, as long as it's within 500 feet of you. And you can even describe the trajectory. If you want to teleport out of a cave, you can just go 500 feet straight up in the air. Hopefully you have Featherfall. And you can just say, I want to go on the opposite side of this door, 5 feet on the other side of the door, or this wall, or whatever. Doing so lets you bypass traps, locks, all sorts of stuff, and unless teleportation is very specifically forbidden, Dimension Door will get you almost anywhere. Now, keep in mind that Dimension Door is not perfect. You can only take one creature along with you when you teleport, but that's more than a Misty Step. And the distance is only 500 feet, but that's a pretty long way. If you look at a map of a city, that is like a couple city blocks that you can transport with an action. Dimension Door is one of the greatest teleportation spells, and as an Eldritch Knight, even at the high levels of play, it's going to save your bacon. So that's why I recommend it as the number 1 spell for utility. But the number 1 spell for combat, this has been a controversial one recently. Conjure Minor Elementals. Conjure Minor Elementals was a spell that people lost their minds about when this book came out a year ago. Basically, you create an emanation around yourself, which, flutters with elementals. When you attack a creature that is within that emanation, they take extra damage, 2d8 specifically. The reason people were losing their minds about it was because it scales ungodly fast. Every level you upcast it with, you get another 2d8 on top. So if you cast it with a 4th level spell like this, it's just 2d8 on top of every attack, which is plenty strong. That's very powerful right there. But if you were to cast it with a 6th level spell, let's say you were like a Swords Bard or a Valor Bard or something like that, or maybe a Blade Singer, who knows, then all of a sudden you're doing an extra 6d8 on top of your regular damage, which is just mind-bogglingly strong, and it keeps going after that. Now, in a very recent post by Wizards of the Coast, I think it was a couple months ago, they errataed the spell, saying that that is too much scaling, and they brought it down to a single d8 that it scales with every level that you upcast it, which is still really strong. Now, as an Eldritch Knight, you're never going to get this chance. You're only going to be casting it at 4th level. So that means you're going to be adding 2d8 to your weapon attacks, which you have a lot of. You're a fighter. Remember that. At level 19, when you get the spell, you've got 3 attacks with your main attack action, and the next level, level 20, that becomes 4. You throw in Action Surge with that, along with maybe a bonus action attack from Crossbow Expert or from Polearm Master or whatever, and all of a sudden, you are adding 2d8 to 8 or 9 attacks that were already doing decent damage on their own. This scales into the absurd levels of damage if you really want to nuke someone. And yeah, Conjure Minor Elementals, even with the errata, the baseline spell is still relatively strong, and on a character that can make a lot of attacks, like the Eldritch Knight, it is unparalleled in combat power. So I'm giving it the number 1. I think that every Eldritch Knight should consider this one, considering just how much damage it can output. It is very hard to compete with that in combat. And yeah, that's it. If you're a top-level Eldritch Knight and you're not sure what 4th level spells to take, Conjure Minor Elementals if you want to blow people up, Dimension Door if you want to have the best utility spells of this level, and then if you want some battlefield control, Wall of Fire is great, Polymorph is amazing for utility and temporary hit points, and Arcane Eye is amazing for scouting and looking out. So whatever fits your campaign, I would take. But, you know, Conjure Minor Elementals is how you kill people, and that's how fighters usually want to play their game. And yeah, I hope that helps. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.